Ambassador Peck, fellow directors and assistant directors, esteemed colleagues, loyal supporters, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the annual meeting of the Canadian Institute in Greece. If you have not already, put your mobile phone on silent, please do so. Since I last spoke on this occasion a year ago, the Institute has had a very active and successful year. The 4 archaeological field projects that conducted research under the aegis of the Institute, with permits from the Ministry of Culture and Sport, as you will learn shortly, made a number of significant discoveries. The Institute and its mission are supported by a consortium of 19 universities, colleges, and organizations in Canada, as well as here in Greece, as well as by individual members. Last September, I visited Ontario and Quebec to give 7 lectures on the work of the Institute and an overview of the results of our recent field work. The Institute's Board of Directors and Ambassador Peck made this important outreach effort possible. This tour was part of the events celebrating the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Canada and Greece in 1942. The audiences were large and enthusiastic. We hope to make such lectures in every region of Canada where there are institutional members and regular feature of the Director's program. The Institute is growing, and I'm most pleased to report. Simon Fraser University is a new Category B institutional member. Western University is a new Category C member. In mid-September, Dr. Marilyn Lambert-Drachi and Mr. Wade Hall from York University in Toronto visited the Institute. The resulting discussions led to a strengthening of the summer undergraduate intern program between York and the Institute, and York rejoined SIG as a Category A institutional member. Last year I informed you of the ongoing work for an online digital archive of the results of the archaeological research conducted by the Institute projects since 1980. This resource, made possible by a grant from the Eldorado Gold Corporation of Vancouver, British Columbia, was completed in the early fall. On October 30th, we launched to the public in this very auditorium the SIG's Portal to the Past. This user-friendly interactive portal covers the research of the Institute's 18 projects, as well as the Frederick E. Winter black and white negative collection. At the presentation, Ambassador Peck, Eduardo Moura for our donor, and Agniatis Benardo gave their considered impressions of the various aspects of the portal and its usefulness. I'm pleased to report that for the first 4.5 months of 2014, there have been over 2,900 unique visitors to the portal from 24 countries. These visitors come to the site at least twice. Again, the active support of Ambassador Peck was crucial to the realization of this valuable informational tool to reach wider audiences both in Canada and elsewhere. In addition to the portal, the addition of the portal to the Institute's electronic presence permitted us to redesign and refocus the Institute's website. With the diligent work of our Lyman Fellow, Miles Shikerda, and the sage advice of our ITC volunteer, Chris Stewart, the revamped SIG website is now available as of this evening. You can use your smartphone to check it out. We believe that it will be easier to navigate and contain more useful information concerning the Institute and its activities. The updated catalog of the library can be searched from the website as well. By September, all of the slated improvements will have been made. In the fall and in the winter spring, we organized a series of Institute lectures on a broad range of topics given by established scholars and younger ones alike. The archaeological heritage of Thessaly was a frequent subject. These were well attended and well received. They sparked many stimulating discussions afterwards. Live streaming of the lectures enabled individuals in Canada and elsewhere to join us as they are this evening. This is the time like Eurovision, hello, Canada.
Canada says hello back.
Yes. Last year, I informed you of the ongoing, our small but very loyal association of Friends Association of the Institute was rewarded mixture of presentations, a lecture recital, a Canadian film, and an excursion with winery tour, and 2 art exhibitions. One has taken place and the other will take place at the beginning of June. A few years ago, I was introduced to Dimitrios Diakomichalis, the mayor of the island of Kolonos. At the time, he invited me to visit the island in order to see what opportunities there were for an archaeological project under the aegis of the Institute. In early March, I was able to accept finally his kind invitation to go to an island that I had never visited before. If that's hard to believe. Mr. Diakomichalis showed me the island and introduced me to many people who shared his passion for Kolonos and its rich history. Mr. Michalis Koutelas, the resident archaeologist for the Atlantic Archaeological Service, showed me the excellent museum and some of the sites. The island's numerous and varied archaeological sites lack the attention they deserve, I believe. We are now working on the possibility of creating a team from various Canadian universities to excavate a site there in the near future. Once again, Ambassador Peck was instrumental in making this visit happen. In June 2012, the Institute held a well-attended colloquium in memory of the late Professor Emeritus Frederick E. Winter of the University of Toronto. The participants explored aspects of the ancient built environment. Winter's interest in defensive fortification systems was well represented among the papers. The proceedings of the colloquium, I'm pleased to announce, will be published next month in the publications of the Canadian Institute in Greece series, number 8. The activities of the Institute in Athens are the product of the efforts and dedication of many individuals. Our team revolves around Dr. Jonathan Thomason, who has now served as the talented assistant director for 15 years. The Institute's board of directors has expressed its confidence in our proactive management and firm leadership by reappointing Jonathan and I for another term. Annetta and Franz Liebman Fellow, Miles Chikerda, a PhD candidate at the Costin Institute of Archaeology at UCLA, was a key player this year in bringing the portal to life on schedule. Miles also helped out, among other things, in finding obscure bibliographic references for the Winter publication and in replacing the lighting tubes in the library. We have had the able assistance in the library and in the archives during the year, as well from 2 undergraduate interns, Sophia Goldberg from Wilfrid University, Wilfrid Laurier University, and Tanner Rudnick from the University of Waterloo. They finished the scanning of the collection of almost 12,000 black and white negatives in the Frederick Winter collection, which was started 2 years ago. Maria Tsiogalas from York University, who you saw when you came in, has just joined us for 3 months before the scanning. Now, who have I forgotten? It's hard to believe that almost 4 years have gone by since Chris Stewart first visited the Institute, and after looking around and asking what we did, offered to volunteer to assess and to record the Frederick Winter black and white negative collection. Little did we know that this internationally known candy critic and many-faceted author possessed a wide range of ICT skills and extensive knowledge of the inner workings of computers, as well as the software that runs them. Little by little over the years, he helped out here, made this improvement there, and suggested we could do this now. He guided us to a linked and harmonized electronic presence in cyberspace. The live streaming and the video archiving of our lectures, the Institute's YouTube channel, aspects of the portal and of the website, the idea for the blog, as well as many other useful innovations have his fingerprints all over them. Our unassuming but energetic ICT volunteer has artistic talents too, which he has shared with us in his exhibitions at the Institute and elsewhere in Athens. Since Chris was our event photographer as well, we have very few shots of him in action around the Institute. As life is not static, and his residence in Athens was mandated by his wife's posting at the Canadian Embassy, he is joining Allison in moving to a new post at the end of the summer. At this point, it's hard to conceive of the Institute without Chris's frequent visits, his useful interventions, and his interesting banter on all manner of topics. He has been a vital part of our team, and we'll miss him and Allison, a loyal supporter too of the Institute's activities. Chris claims that Jonathan can run everything he set up. Along the way, Chris has learned about the archaeological research process, the archaeologists who practice it, and the rich cultural heritage of Greece. We look forward to Chris and Allison visiting us often in the future. Thank you, Chris. Λοιπόν, χωρίς την συνεχή βοήθεια και την συνεργασία των συνεργάτων του Υπουργείου Πολιτισμού και Αθλητισμού και των Εθνωρίων, το πρόγραμμα των αρχαιολογικών εργασιών Βεβίου και έρευνας το 2010 δεν θα ήταν δυνατό να πραγματοποιηθεί. Τους ευχαριστούμε θερμότητα για την υποστήριξη τους και προσδοκούμε την συνεχίση της συνεργασίας μας μαζί στο νέο. Το καλοκαίρι του 2013 διεξήχθηκαν 4 ερευνητικά προγράμματα στην Ελλάδα υπό την αιγίδα του Ελληνικού Ινστιτούτου. Τα 3 ήταν ανασκαφές σε συνεργασίες με Έλληνες συναδέλφους και το 4ο ήταν μια αυτόνομη εντακτή επιστημονική έρευνα. The Castro Califea Archaeological Project finished the excavation of Building 10 under the co-direction of Dr. Sofia Carapano and Marguerite Hazen. The domestic structure is located in the eastern section of a fortified Hellenistic city in Achaia, Thessaly. In addition, the team worked on Building 1, the Stoa, located in the Agora of the ancient city. Located on the eastern slopes of the site, Building 10 is a large domestic structure measuring approximately 20 by 15 meters. The ground floor has 11 rooms surrounding a central corridor atrium. The building was constructed at the end of the 3rd century or early 2nd century BC. In the 2nd century BC, there was a fire and partial collapse of the roof. Afterwards, a second, much smaller structure was built over these remains. This must have been abandoned towards the end of the 2nd century BC. The excavation in 2012 in room 11 had revealed the lower house of at least 10 pithoi in situ. The large number of pithos body sherds and rib fragments confirmed the identification of the area as the Pythian. During this year's excavation, the original number of pithoi in the room had to be adjusted. In addition to the ones previously documented in the eastern part of the room, 2 additional pithos holes were uncovered. Near the doorway, traces of other pithoi, which must have been removed before during the abandonment of Building 10, were found. Some of the pithoi, especially 7 and 9, were already damaged in antiquity and had been repaired using small lead strips. It was clear that some of the pithoi did not survive the length of the occupation of Building 10. They had been removed before the final abandonment. The floor must have been paved over with lime in the 2nd phase, after which smaller storage vessels were dug into the floor of this newer and higher level, but not as the original pithoi. Thus, the Pythian must have contained at least 15 pithoi of various sizes in the first architectural phase, but probably more may have been just stood on the floor. 2 rib fragments were discovered with inscriptions on the upper part of the rim, likely indicating measurements of volume. Soil samples from the interiors of the pithoi have been taken and will be analyzed for macro and microbotanical remains. In addition to the pithoi found in room 11, depressions for 3 more pithoi situated around the stone-lined fireplace could be identified in phase 2 of room 4. One thing is clear, the storage capacity of this house is unprecedented. The wealth of the household must have been based in part on ownership of large amounts of arable land mixed with animal husbandry. Excavation in room 10 revealed a large rectangular stone lodge in the floor level. 3 post holes found adjacent to the stone suggest an associated wooden construction that seems to have been destroyed by a fire. This construction is probably for a staircase to a second story. Other finds of note during this season are the fair number of coins found in floor levels in room 11 and the bulks which had been taken out. The total number of coins found as a whole amounts to more than 60. Most of these coins were minted by Antigonus Donatus and the Thessalian League, further confirming the dates of habitation for the building to the end of the 3rd and 2nd centuries BC. The removal of the bulk in room 8 yielded another square limestone block with a half-round protrusion. It was found in association with a small fireplace located in the center of the room. This brings the number of these enigmatic stones to 4 discovered in this building alone. In the opinion of the excavators, these objects, which are only found in ancient Kaya-Theotis, can be interpreted as votives or perhaps as small altars. Fragments of a mold-made vessel were found on the surface in the courtyard, which depicts a narrative mythological scene. The scene depicted could easily be identified by the accompanying lines of text as a myth involving Sisyphus and Aphtolitus. Faces depicting this myth are rare. It is interesting that most mold-made vessels found in the building depict narrative scenes rather than the more often ubiquitous floral balls from other sites of the same period. Under the direction, under the Greek and Canadian team joined forces this year in the continued excavation of the 50-meter-long stela at the northern edge of the Agora. The team uncovered a further stretch of several meters of the floor level, as well as the bases of 2 more columns in the central part of the stela. Under the direction of Dr. Zizis Bonias and Professor Jacques Perrault, the 2013 season at Argylos was part of an ongoing program of research into the historical and architectural development of this ancient Greek polis in order to obtain a better understanding of the relationships between the Greeks and the Thracians on the northern edge of the Aegean. On the Acropolis to the south of the Hellenistic Manor House, the excavation of Building B to the north of the east-west street continued. In its last phase, circa 400-357 BC, the building included 3 rooms. The access was through a road along the building to the south. During the classical period, and probably also already in the 6th century, it connected an alley to the east and Building B. To the south of the alley, the road also gave access to another building, of which only the threshold of the entrance is visible. For an unknown reason, this part of the road was blocked at the moment of the construction of the Hellenistic Manor, and a new road constructed on top of the previous one with a slightly different orientation. An objective of the research on the Acropolis was to determine the presence of a defensive system in the sector, following discovery during a survey of some large stones on the surface. A large road adjacent to 2 structures was uncovered. The architectural elements to the west belong to a tower erected where one should expect a fortification wall defending the Acropolis. The entrance of it should be located in the center of the north facade, where there are 4 small stones. In the southeastern sector, excavation of rooms F4 and F5 of House F was completed, and both the occupation is dated to the 2nd half of the 6th century BC. In the Kuluthi sector, the most important discoveries to date for the history and economic development of Argylos happened this year. The 2012 excavation uncovered a series of rooms, adjacent rooms in Building H, facing what was thought to be a large courtyard. The space had on its southern side a terrace wall labeled L. The construction style and the material used for this terrace wall were identical to those used elsewhere in the site in the 6th century BC. In 2013, a large portico, now labeled Building L, was uncovered, comprising at least 7 shops, 5 of which were partially excavated. The rooms were identical dimensions and are built against terrace wall L. All of them, with the exception of room L1, have an entrance slightly off-center and a monolithic threshold. Final surface of occupation, at Argos called Phase 3, circa 400-357 BC, was reached in 4 of the rooms. Room L1 on the west and testifies to the economic problems of the city during the first half of the 4th century BC. This is the only room where the excavation has not reached the final floor surface. The room had at least 2 phases of occupation. In the most recent 400-357 BC, the access in L1 was through a doorway at the southern end of the east wall, indicating that rooms L1 and L2 were in this Phase 1 room. The southernmost third of L1 was used for habitation, while the northern part was a courtyard. In the south part, the bathtub was uncovered at the southwest corner, as well as a significant number of domestic vases broken on the floor surface. The presence of a strange, in the lower corner, a strange marble strange ring made of marble is noteworthy. The upper part had a triangular appendix pierced twice, probably for suspension. The soil in the southern part is slightly more elevated than that of the courtyard. In the courtyard, a hearth made of grim fragments of the pithoi, and a rectangular block of limestone rising against the wall of the habitation. In the soil, there were a tumble of vases, including a fragmentary 4th century configured crater, as well as some coins, all dated to the first quarter of the 4th century BC. Under the last level of room L1, in the southern part, below filled, and an earlier level was reached. Phase 2, probably dated to the first quarter of the 5th century, the remains of a clay structure, of which only traces are preserved, were identified near the rim of the large pithos inside the door. This installation may have had a commercial character. Room L2 produced along the eastern side a small rectangular hearth made of 2 vertical parallel schist slabs. 2 terracotta figurine fragments were found in the room. In room L3, under a thick layer of tiles, was a bathtub in the southwest corner and a small compartment defined by fragments of pithoids lids. It was also interesting was also the presence of 2 fragmentary supports of lutri. The most interesting feature in room L4 is the possible oil press in situ along the east wall. An alternative function could have been for the preparation of pharmaceutical products. The finding of this portico is extremely interesting for the understanding of the development of the urban site. Situated close to the harbor, it proves the importance given to the commercial space of the city. But the discovery informs us about the economic fragility of this big colony. One has the impression that after examining the movable finds in room L1, that its function changed in its latest phase of occupation. Instead of a commercial space, it became residential. The same could be the case for room L3, where another bathroom was found. The researchers have already established through excavation in other sectors of the city that the latest phases of occupation, this is Phase 3, displays a pronounced impoverishment. The constructions were of poor quality, and the function of the large buildings, such as Building E in the southeast sector, changed and they became simply modest houses. The years that followed the Peloponnesian War were undoubtedly difficult ones for Argos. The quick development of Amphipolis, not far away, with its strategic position on the river Stirma, and the proximity of the gold mines of the Bangayan Mountain were probable causes. The transformation of certain rooms in the portico into residential areas is a consequence of this situation. The Eastern Boeotia Archaeological Project, EBAP, the Synagogue under the direction of Professor Alexandra Harami, Professor Brendan Burke, and Professor Brian Burns, conducted excavations on the Acropolis of ancient Ilium within the village of Arma. The results have refined our knowledge of the Mycenaean occupation of Ilium, with substantial architecture spanning Paleolithic 3B and 3C periods. A range of archaic and classical artifacts indicate cult activity in later times associated with the construction of a monumental gateway, which incorporated Mycenaean remains in the later architecture. The 10 by 10 meter area open in the northwestern sector is the largest, is at the highest level of the Ilium Acropolis. In this season, they extended the area by opening 2 units to the south. The area contains substantial architectural remains that indicate several phases of building and rebuilding during the late Atlantic 3B and 3C periods. The best preserved settlement remains comes from a burnt destruction level of late Atlantic 3C early, which was particularly well preserved, well revealed in the 2012 season. Analysis continued this season of the extensive ceramic assemblages around Northwest B2B, found in situ around the build features of the sunken basin in the tile park. There are 18 completed, well-preserved vessels in the inventory so far from this area. A large number of serving and drinking vessels are complemented by those necessary for storage and food processing. Limited excavation has reached pre-Mexican levels down to building like 2-3/2B, documenting the longest Bronze Age sequence uncovered at L&M Spawn. There are straight finds in this area from the geometric to classical periods and more extensive evidence for occupation in the medieval period. The most substantial post-classical material is a broad scatter of roof tiles with grooved decoration. The area also contains the first human remains recovered at L&M. A metal halide cistern was found intact despite the significant amount of later disturbance. It was built of unbaked clay material, probably mud brick slabs, held only an intact skeleton of a child, interred face down with contracted knees. There were no grave pits associated with it. The burial. To construct this tomb, a pit was cut through plaster surface, and they have corresponded to the middle Atlantic construction and into levels severely dated into the late Atlantic or early Atlantic 3-2B. Excavations of a 10x10 square in the southwestern sector, Unit B3, began in 2011 and continued through this year. Work began in the southwest area because of anomalous indications of architecture from geophysical work conducted by Professor Grigoris Tsokas of the Aristotelian University in Thessaloniki in October 2009. Electroresistivity mapping suggested several subsurface structures. And the excavation revealed that the cultural remains are very close to the surface in both of these areas. The excavators have isolated concentrations of archaic and classical periods, including miniature lamps, vessels, animal figurines, archaic and classical terracotta figurines, and pre-bronze vessels. The material is not associated with architectural remains in this southwest B3 and may have been deposited as a wash or runoff from an area upslope to the north. Although isolated sherds have been found which seem to be late Atlantic 3C and late Atlantic 3C late in character, the uppermost constructions in close context in southwest B3 likely date to late Atlantic 3C middle period. This would be the latest building phase of the square. Some of the walls were robbed or disturbed, perhaps from later agricultural activity. This phase is not fully understood, but recent analysis of ceramic finds suggests a high number of bull figurine fragments and specialized ceramic shapes. The late Atlantic 3C middle material is found in a trash deposit quite extensively around walls in the square, which is on the eastern side of the square. The trash fill is probably absent along the western side of the square due to later archaic disturbances. Currently, it is believed that this trash material is associated with the domestic structure located along the north wall of the square, continuing into the unexcavated area to the north. Characteristics of this deposit include the presence of large bone and antler fragments, as well as mandible pieces of pottery. From within the domestic structure, several mandible vessels have been identified. The most substantial construction in the southwest B square is formed by an intersection of 2 walls. While only the southeast corner of this building has been revealed, the walls are in general well preserved. This structure is particularly interesting because it goes out of use in late Atlantic 3C early, based on a destruction deposit. Immediately underlying these walls, there seems to be evidence for earlier architecture. Work in the southeast continued in 2013 in order to better understand the architectural character of this part of the site in relation to the large polygonal wall, which is so prominent, such a prominent feature of this site. They have now have a clear understanding of the ramped entrance to the site, which shows Mycenaean architecture reused in the classical period. What was excavated is a multi-phase ramp made of crushed limestone pebbles with a plaster-like surface. This ramp led to an impressive threshold block that was uncovered, spanning almost the entirety of the corridor, produced by two parallel Mycenaean walls. Additionally, a large quantity of large terracotta figurine fragments and miniature vessel fragments were recovered during the 2012 excavation in this area. They have now recovered a broad array of material indicative of cult activity in the 5th century BC. 10 intact seated female figurines were discovered in the ramp area. Though none are identical, these molded figures are comparable size, quality, and type. A few examples of the Pappas-style figurines and one of the kneeling figurines may indicate earlier archaic activity. Terracottas were found in the secondary deposit that was also extremely rich in miniature vessels. Almost all were cultivated, skiffoi, with Corinthian-style decoration, as well as 3 Boeotian iconics. A preliminary time frame of late archaic to early classical period is suggested by these finds. Unfortunately, the original architectural context of the figurines and miniature vessels has not yet been found. The church source and associated chipstone ateliers of Steliza and Naxos was first discovered in 1981 as part of a single-season archaeological landscape survey undertaken by the École Française de Berlin under the direction of René Trélu. The site comprises a 118-meter high hill located at the extreme west of Cape Ias Procopios on the northwest coast of Naxos, about 3 kilometers to the southwest of Kora, the island's modern port and capital. The publication of the site in the church chipstone assemblage was undertaken by Michalis and Seferiades. The raw material from numerous outposts on the hill was described as a former church, posted and calcined. While the technical and typological attributes of the lithic industry was published in some detail, the dating of the assemblages ultimately remained unresolved, and the material had no obvious parallels from previously investigated sites in the Cycladic Islands. A tentative earlier prehistoric date was suggested. However, the common wisdom at the time was that the small islands of the Mediterranean were not occupied until the later Neolithic period in the 5th millennium BC. Steliza thus remained something of a chronological enigma until the recent rescue excavations on its lower eastern and southern slopes by the Kappa Alpha effort of prehistoric and classical antiquities, whose preliminary report by Irini Nagaki made important claims of the Mesolithic and Upper Paleolithic date. Such claims were tantalizing, given the recent slew of reports of lower and middle Paleolithic sites on Crete, Lesbos, Delos, and the Ionian Islands. Professor Kristen Carter and his team on the Steliza and Naxos Archaeological Project, or SNEP, began this past summer a 2-year intensive survey of Steliza in order to determine, the specific cultural periods of utilization of this hill. In 2013, 2 phases of fieldwork were undertaken. The first phase, an extensive survey and delineation of the church sources and the site's limits, involved walking survey transect lines oriented in the cardinal directions, 40 meters apart, with 1 meter square collections of all cultural material, and being made at 10-meter intervals along these lines. The collection points being documented by GPS. 20 of these lines were walked, covering a total of 24 hectares. The second approach, an intensive survey, including various methods to generate larger samples of diagnostic artifacts from the area of interest, based on the first phase reported density and the character of the lithics. These include arbitrary collections in hotspots and in grids of varying sizes. Systematic collection procedures were followed within these different size grids to enable intra-site data comparisons. In brief, the site's alleged pre-Neolithic data was were clearly confirmed by the field work, with the vast majority of the chronologically diagnostic stone tools being Mesolithic and Middle Paleolithic date. The vast majority of the finds comprise pieces of chipped stone, with only 21 sherds collected, a few of the Bronze Age of date, the rest pre-Roman. There are also 23 pieces of emery, which comes from the northwestern part of Naxos, and is thought also to date to the Mesolithic and or Middle Paleolithic period. Mesolithic material had a widespread distribution around the hill of Stolida. Significantly, these finds were not restricted to areas with good chert on crops, suggesting that a range of activities were taking place at the site, not just quarrying and tool production, but also short-term habitation, food processing, and the like. There were also traces of what might have been a Mesolithic campsite to the south on the promontory, including tools that had reported being obsidian, considering the seasonal combination established by those visiting the church slopes from elsewhere on the island or beyond. Mesolithic artifacts were mainly flake-based and microlithic. The material includes artifacts that appear to be lower early Mesolithic in date, based on comparison with material from the nearby early 9th millennium BC sites of Marulas on Kitnos, Caramia 1 on Icaria, and the Cyclops Cave on Figura and the Sporanas. The Stolida material appears to fit within what researchers describe as the early Holocene Aegean lithic, island lithic tradition, with further links to Cyprus, distinct from the bladelet-dominated assemblages of southern Anatolia. Stapp's most important discovery was a major Middle Paleolithic presence at Stolida, even more extensive than the Mesolithic finds. This is a previously unknown period of activity on Naxos, and arguably now the best documented prehistoric site in Cyclades. As before, much of this material is associated with the best quality chert-grown crops. There are two other areas of general interest, apparently associated with small rock shelters, that likely represented seasonal habitations. One is located on the northeastern flank of the hill, the other due west of the southern peak. The material is represented by the non-Lavant technology products and includes a range of the characteristic Middle Paleolithic tool types. The Lavant assemblage is the most exciting discovery of the project by far, as this is the technology associated with Homo neanderthalensis in Western Europe, the Balkans, and Greece, whereby the project has provided the first indirect evidence for Neanderthals on Naxos, and possibly one of the largest Neanderthal sites in Greece. While the absolute dating of the Stolida material currently remains uncertain, conventional dates for the Middle Paleolithic span from 2000 to 40,000 BP. During this time, sea levels were much lower than today, whereby sea crossings from the Greek mainland, if any were in fact needed, would have been over relatively short distances. That said, it is possible that the Middle Paleolithic activity at Stolida will come to represent evidence for Neanderthal seafaring, thus making an important contribution to the current high-profile debates concerning the cognitive and behavioral complexity of Homo neanderthalensis. In conclusion, Argolis, Elian, and Stolida will be in the field again this summer. In the next few weeks, Castro Califia will conduct a study season. I'm very pleased to report that the Institute will have a new 3-year project, the Western Argolid Regional Project, or WORP, conducting an intensive pedestrian survey in a research zone to the northwest of Argos. The prime mover in this undertaking is Professor Dimitri Nakasis from the Department of Classics at the University of Toronto. He is continuing the tradition of survey archaeology at Toronto that the late Matt Wallace started on UVA. Professor Nakasis is here with us this evening to deliver the annual invited lecture entitled Cities and Thrones and Powers, Rethinking the End of the Mycenaean Civilization. Now let me introduce him. I have the pleasure of meeting Dimitri 20 years ago, when he came to Patras in eastern Crete to excavate with me in Sector 3 of the excavation of the palatial settlement under the direction of Atixia Tsipopoulou. And while this was not his first excavation, this was his first first Greek excavation. And while at the time I might have described him as a somewhat feckless youth, I have been impressed. People often make bad judgments in the beginning. I have been impressed by what Dimitri has done subsequently. At the time, he was an undergraduate at the University of Michigan, soon to complete his BA in classical archaeology and economics. He went on to the University of Austin, University of Texas at Austin, did an MA, topic in early Greek literature, and then did a PhD in there as well, receiving that in 2006, dealing with looking at the individual Mycenaean state using the linear beat text. He came to the University of Toronto in 2008, and his movement through the ranks has been most impressive. He's now associate professor, and I had the chance to talk with him about his teaching when I was there in September, and I'm quite impressed with what he has been able to do in the Department of Classics at the University of Toronto. A department I, having taught at Prof University nearby, knew in its former self. What has impressed me about Dimitri is the range of his interests. Early Greek literature, Mycenaean texts, survey archaeology, and such. And he has produced, in a very short period of time, a series of articles on, as I say, a range of information, much of it derived from the study of the linear beat text from Pylos. He has also has come out with an excellent book, which is his dissertation on the role of the individual, and this is what I think we will be able to see in this talk this evening. He's carrying it a step further to after the palaces have disappeared. Dimitri is someone who I think we have already heard a great deal about. He has a number of articles in the American Journal of Archaeology. He is pushing the edge of the envelope on what you can do with linear beat text. And I think with the combination of his knowledge of survey archaeology as well as the text, I think we will see even more from this. He has worked with the East Corinthian Archaeological Survey. He's worked in Cyprus. He's an all-rounder now, and I was pleased to be able to watch him over the years grow into the solid archaeologist and very effective professor he is today. Dimitri, it's your turn.